Welcome to the Medovia Menopause Podcast, your trusted source for evidence-based, science-backed information related to menopause. Medovia is dedicated to changing the narrative about menopause by educating, raising awareness, and supporting women in this stage of life, both at home and in the workplace. Visit medovia.com to learn more. I'm one of your hosts, April Haberman, and I'm joined by Kim Hart. We're co-founders of Medovia, certified health coaches, registered yoga teachers, and midlife mamas specializing in menopause. You're listening to another episode of our podcast, where we offer expert guidance for the most transformative stage of life, bringing you real conversations, education, and resources to help you overcome challenges and reach your full potential through midlife. Join us and our special guests each episode as we bring vibrant, fun, and truthful conversation, and let us help you have a deeper understanding of menopause. Hi, everyone. We're so excited to have our guest on the show today, Denise Pines. She is an age enthusiast, longtime community health advocate, and media pioneer. Denise is a trusted resource for women as they pursue midlife wellness. She founded Wise Pause Wellness. She's the co-founder and CEO of Tea Botanics and the inspiration behind Hot Flash Tea. We have to get some of that. Pines is the president of the Osteopathic Medical Board of California and serves on the board of Federation for State Medical Board. Pines co-founded Women in the Room Productions and is an award-winning filmmaker producing 12 documentaries, including her next film, The M Factor, Shredding the Silence on Menopause. And we get to open up the conversation about menopause and her next film, so let's dive right in. Hey everyone, we are so excited to have Denise Pines with us today, and we get to talk about all things menopause, our favorite topic. So let's dive in. Denise, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, this is going to be a fantastic conversation. You have a remarkable background, an impressive resume. And so let's dive in, because I know that there's a lot of buzz about this documentary.
Yeah.
People are curious about it. And I'd love to start off by just asking you to share with our audience how you got into the production. How did you get into producing films in the first place?
So I have actually been in entertainment for maybe over 25 years now. I started as a creative producer for talk TV, talk radio programs. And then the person who I was working with got an opportunity to produce 4 documentaries with PBS. And that really kicked off my interest in documentaries and really finding like that was my sweet spot. You could tell a really great story. It was fun to unravel and uncover the stories, and then to travel around the country and tell those stories. So I really found that, documentaries, storytelling was really where I thought was really powerful, and you can make a change. And that where I felt like I really thrived, more so than, talk TV. Mm. And we worked with lots of celebrities, so it was talk celebrity stuff, right? So this kind of out of the hearing about celebrity stuff to hearing about everyday people's things.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure you have met some remarkable people along the way as well. And that could probably be an entire separate podcast in and of itself. I'm sure that there are lots of stories with that. But I'd love to hear your story on how the M Factor came about. What led to this work? What was there a particular moment in time and experience that inspired this project?
Well, really it just began with my journey. So my journey in getting a hot flash. And like most women, I was caught off guard, had, little knowledge. But the difference for me was that at the time, I was the vice president of the Medical Board of California. So I had access to any doctor in my state, and yet I was prepared at this stage of my life. And and so this just led me down a path, first to solve my own hot flashes, And so I, like treating all my health issues naturally. So I partnered with my doctor and we co-created a company called Tea Botanics, where we launched a series of teas for menopause, from hot flashes and night sweats to brain fog and anxiety. And then that led me to talking to all women. And I realized, like, gosh, so many women are confused, just like the way I was. Let me bring all these doctors, since I'm like influential in my state, together, one day summit to give women evidence-based information. And we termed it Wise Pause Wellness. And then I was reading an article and I said, it was talking about femtech, and everything in the solutions were for women around period, fertility, or parenting. And I just said, well, what are the fem aging tech solutions? And so thought about creating an initiative called the Fem Aging Project, where we could raise the voice of this woman in research. So we released a report during COVID. We released a report about what she's thinking about her health and aging. And then we partnered with one of the largest angel investment networks in the world called Karetsu's Forum, and started doing pitch competitions to, generate more interest in this area, to elevate those who did have femtech health products, and then to meet with investors and do presentations for investors about the viability of this market, and to remove the thought for them that this market was niched. Mm. Then, as a filmmaker, I got to do a documentary, right?
Yes, of course. Yeah.
I love it. I love that you followed every breadcrumb of your interests to, go do the things that lit you up. Because obviously all of those things you mentioned make you excited. You can tell. Uh-huh. Let's talk about the M Factor. Like, those are unfamiliar. Can you give us sort of an overview of that documentary and what it explores and how that all came about? Because it's coming up soon.
It's coming up soon. So in the M Factor, we wanted first to start off with a montage of women we're familiar with, some women we're not familiar with, meaning that they're just patients, to share, like, here's my experience, right? And then we go into talking about the top pieces of the experience that most women share. So one, the impact that menopause has on the brain. So a lot of us know Lisa Mosconi. She's an amazing person out of Weill in New York, and she's written a book recently just about the brain and menopause, right? Looking at, she got research dollars to look at the brain before a woman goes into menopause, looks at the brain during perimenopause, and then looks at the brain once she hits menopause and some years after. And that data is fascinating, and that is in the film, and she talks about that. The real connection between the brain and the hormone and reproductive system. She also said something that was really interesting in the film. And she said that when it comes to the brain, we go to a gynecologist around that, but they don't specialize in brain, but we go to them for that. So that just was sort of an aha for myself about how we need to wrap ourselves around a more 360 care of our bodies, right? That we have been relying on our gynecologists to be everything about our health. Well, that's not what gynecologists do, right? Gynecologists really focus from the belly button, down, to the end of our pubic area, right? But that we also need these other wraparound people. And so when she said that, that came to light for me. We try to unpack HRT, hormone replacement therapy. We bring in the lack of access that Black women and Latino women have, and why they suffer with longer symptoms and more severe symptoms. So we bring in women of color into the story. We have patient stories. We show a patient facing with the physician, so that women watching can see, like, this is the kind of relationship that you should be experiencing with your physician. And if you're not, move on, right? We talk about sexual health. We have some interesting reveals around testosterone. And then we get into the workplace, our favorite area, right? And we highlight a company called Genentech that has done a really great job in embracing menopause in the workplace, from policy to insurance, to making sure that their employees and the employee's family has 24/7 access to a healthcare provider. So we want to show, what does it look like when the workplace shows up for these women? And then we end with letting people know, like, these are great years. These are years where we have like this crazy amount of wisdom. These are the years where we make the most money in our lives. These are the years where we are the huge decision maker across our health, for our family, across our finances and how they're spent. And this is where we get to reconnect back to that young self of our hobbies or whatever it was before we started having children, and kind of said, we'll get back to that one day. This is the time to get back.
Right.
Yeah, I absolutely love the storytelling piece, that you have real people, real stories, so that women can relate to that. I think we do relate to storytelling, right? It draws us in much more so than just information being pushed out. But what I'm also hearing, Denise, is that this documentary is really an aha, right? So we want this to be, you want this to be an aha moment. Like, this is what menopause is, and this is the real truth and the real story. And come here and get this and take a bite, right? And we're going to give you resources. We're going to give you, like you said, a sneak peek into a doctor's visit. And this is what it should look like, because we don't know what we don't know, right?
Yeah.
And we only know what we've been told up until this point. So you're really kind of pulling back the curtain, right?
Yes.
Very-
It's interesting for us. So we've been in this space for a long time now, right? So we have so much knowledge, but we have to realize we are an anomaly.
Yeah.
We are really an anomaly. People do not have the basic knowledge, just knowing what the word menopause really means, let alone perimenopause. So I'm always having to put my beginner's hat on every time when I'm talking or meeting people. When I'm with you, we can come right at it. But we got to recognize every time. So that's what this film is. This film is an introduction to this topic, to create awareness, and what are the really important needs for women, and how do we need to get started.
Yeah. And it's much more than just our vaginal health and our ovaries and our uterus. And right. I mean, you mentioned it, the brain connection. And I think there is even an oral health piece in there. And we don't even think about that when when we think about menopause. So hats off to you. You may have just answered the question, but why now? Why are you releasing a documentary on menopause? Why now?
I think that we kind of have come into where menopause is starting to enter the zeitgeist, right? And really, I think who really kicked it off at a higher level, there was obviously, all of the conversation that really was happening in social media. It gave women an opportunity to start talking and sharing information about what was going on with themselves. And then that just started to really grow. And then it started for me, what I saw really was the New York Times to do articles. One of their early articles was around the menopause boom. So looking at all of these sort of Gen X companies that were coming into this space, because Gen X got here and went, what the what?
For sure.
Solution? You don't have one? I'm going to make one. I'm going to create one. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that, right? Because, that's that generation. That's what they do. And then then I saw doctors, right? When I first started doing Wise Pause in 2019, I really couldn't get a lot of my power as at that time, the president of the Medical Board of California got me to get them there to the table. But it really was hard to get doctors to come out publicly and really want to front face with the public. They were used to being in their bubble of talking to each other, kind of like the way NAMS is, right? And so it was, it was really tough. And now you see these doctors all coming out. They've created platforms.
Mhm.
Women are speaking up about it. You've got, my partner in this project, Tamsin, speaking up about it. You've got Stacey London speaking up, and you're getting now personalities that have come into the fray. And the ultimate was Oprah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And thank you, Oprah. Right?
Thank you for sure. She changed the narrative.
He started to change the narrative and really started to make it be a serious topic as opposed to this thing that was fodder in the past, right? Where we ha about it, tease women about it, made fun and pun about it. And we need to remove ourselves from that. It was interesting when we went in to do this film, like I wanted to do a thread line of humor, right? And Wanda Sykes, I love Wanda Sykes, and Wanda Sykes has some of the best comedy on menopause. It's very highbrow. It's really interesting and different. And then we thought, you know what? First, we didn't have enough room inside the film because an hour. But second, we thought, no, we don't need to be funny.
Yeah.
Thread that through. Maybe the next film, when someone does it, can thread in that. Right now, we need people to be serious about this. This is not a laughing matter, right? A very serious matter. This is very disruptive to women's lives, and it alters relationships for them. It alters could disrupt their work and career path. So this is a very serious thing, and we decided not to add humor inside of it.
Yeah, I'm glad you didn't. Kim, you were going to say something.
Yeah, I'm thinking about all the challenges that we face, like trying to break the stigma inside the workplaces that we talk to, and have to educate. So much of what we do is educating, employers about why this is an important conversation. I imagine that you have challenges along the way in trying to sell this and trying to, get funding for it, get people involved in it. Like what were those obstacles and how did you overcome them? Did you have any surprises or ahas that you thought, oh man, this will be easy and it was hard, or vice versa?
I thought it was going to be easy. So, this is my 13th film. I've raised money from the top 25 foundations in the world, not just in the US, but in the world, had relationships with presidents of those entities. From the Kellogg to the Ford to the Robert Wood Johnson, like direct connection. And I could not get a dollar out of those entities because they did not see this as, and the way I framed it is a public health crisis. They didn't see it. They did not have priorities inside of their giving that would allow them to support this film and the creation of this film and toward the outreach. And so I was like initially shocked, going, oh, what am I going to do? Right. So then I went out into the corporations who have been funding, organizations like Let's Talk Menopause, Let's Talk About Menopause, and some other entities. And what I realized is no one was giving real money, right? 10,000 or 25,000. That's not real money. I mean, a documentary costs on the low end about 800,000, on the higher end, maybe 1.7 million, right? So that's the standard range of a documentary. And here we had $0. And so we put money into it ourselves. I mean, this is how much that we believed in this space, and believing that, down the road, the funding would come in. I will say, no, the funding hasn't really come in.
Yeah.
That was definitely a shock that we're talking about it, but we're not investing in, right? So that's the reality of where we are. The next is, as we were, fact checking, doing all of our research, just the lack of research was unreal to me. We were operating off of data that's 12 to 15 years old, meaning that's the most recent data, right? It made me realize how little we really know about menopause, including treatment options. And I know we have HRT and all of this stuff, but when you ask half of these people, physicians around, like, exactly how does it work, exactly what's in it, these are chemicals, there's still, to me, the data missing just in that. And I know we had that big research that happened in 2002, but why did we stop? Why didn't we just keep researching, right? So we have now the 22 years of what I would say significant data gap around other treatment options, and definitely around women who want to take a more natural approach. I don't like all the poo-pooing around that. I'm a person who deals with my health naturally. It works. We have only been living as humans off medication for about 100 years. And if I'm to be honest, really about the last 50, 55 years. So for the last million years of human existence, what have we been surviving off of? We've been surviving off the land, the herbs, right? The plants. So I get really upset when people believe that chemical drugs are the end all to our health and wellness. It is absolutely not. Yeah. I think the other thing that was really shocking, and I wanted to, and this was one of those 12-year-old stats, was the use of HRT. Only 4% of women were using it. This is 12 years ago data. Couldn't get a recent data point. The Menopause Society just released September 10th of this year, so this month, the latest data on this, and it was alarming. Now, only 1.8% of women are using HRT.
So that shocked me.
Which is amazing, right?
I mean, right? Crazy.
It's gone down. We need more research to understand why. What is that, right? So so there was, a lot of aha moments and lack of research. The difference, the physicians that all really, some of them don't agree on things.
Right.
I think the other thing is just who is the best expert to tell the story? There's so many, we call them the menopause, and there's menopause here, menopause there.
Right. Right.
Like, who do we really have? When people started to find out, because, one doctor friend would tell another doctor friend, I just got interviewed for the M Factor. You call them up. So like every doctor felt like, I should be in it. That was definitely challenging. And then I would say the stories, we had quite a few stories. There was only so many that really what I call made the cut. Yeah. It didn't mean that someone's story wasn't valuable. It just was like how we were trying to tell the story, what really made sense. And then at some point, you kind of have to stop, right? You got to, and it really was the director, right? The director is the decision maker. And one day she said, stop, do not send me another expert, do not send me another patient.
Wow. It's too much, right? It's 1 hour. It's 1 hour. You'll have to do another one. Although we just said, funding has been a challenge. And I find that not surprising, but surprising. Something that affects not just 50% of the population, because we know that you said it earlier, Denise, it's not just individuals that are experiencing menopause, it's everyone else around you, right? Yeah. Menopause affects 100% of people. So we're talking about something that is pretty impactful to everybody on earth here. And we don't have the funding, we don't have the support for it. So I hope that the M Factor really raises that awareness for not only individuals so that they have the resources and the education that they need, but also it's an aha for corporations, the private sectors, so that there is more funding for menopause related information, documentaries, products, whatever that might be. Research. Yeah. And research. Yes. I think the First Lady, Jill Biden, just announced another round of funding from the Pentagon yesterday. So for research, which is good. I haven't read the full press release on that yet. So I'll have to dig in a little bit further.
That's giving the money now.
What's that?
The DOD.
Oh, yes. Yes.
That's where I'm confused, but okay, that's fine.
We'll take it, but it is odd.
Dollars, right?
Yeah.
You need it, but we'll take it,
Yeah.
All the crumbs start to add up.
Yeah. Exactly. But it's interesting. It's curious. That's the word I'll use today. Very curious.
Yeah.
Denise, there's a lot that the documentary covers in that hour, and you've had to really rein it in. as you look back now, after all of the pieces have been put together and you're able to watch this film, what resonates with you personally the most?
Um, Resonates with me. I think the brain really, that brain conversation was like, wow.
Mm,
It really factualized it,
mm,
right? It really validated that something does happen to women during the perimenopause years. I think what was even more shocking is when you come on the other side of it, right? That there are some women that come and they get a 20-year-old brain back, right? They go in with, I don't know, a 46-year-old brain and come out with a 20-year-old brain. I thought, ooh, that wasn't me. That's exciting though.
yeah. Yeah.
Back like me. I came back with the same brain I went into. The really alarming part was the women who have permanent brain decline.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what do we do for those women? Those are the women who show up as dementia on Alzheimer's later on, right?
Right.
So now that we know that, how can we, what's the secret to the 20-year-old brain, or just, hey, let me just keep the brain I had when I went into this phase? And how do we help those women who actually deteriorate mentally? So that I think was, the biggest personal takeaway of like going, yes, those moments where I can't remember somebody's name who I've known for 25 years and they're standing right in front of me. It made that like really hone in and say it was very real.
Mm.
Yeah.
Wow.
So what's the ultimate goal for you in this documentary? And then what's next in terms of your menopause advocacy? Because I mean, you are got your hands in so many great places of it. And I just love that you're like, there's a need there. I'm gonna go fill it.
Mhm.
There's a need there. I'm gonna go fill it. Yeah,
Right, right. Well, we know
what
you
have
get up at 4 a.m., Denise, so
yeah.
you
What do
have
you
to in order
yeah,
to get it all done. Yeah.
One, I have to say, I do play hard. I mean, I travel extensively. I get together with my friends and my family. So I'm not that. I mean, I'm a really intense work person, but I'm a really intense play person as well. Um, so in terms of what we have going on, I mean, we have screenings now around the U.S. that are about to jump off. The first one, the very first screening, I'm doing in 2 days in San Francisco
Wow.
for a private club, like like one of these like kind of clubs. Forward to it. And then we sort of really kick off everything very early October. But now we have screenings we're coordinating in South Africa and Canada and the UK,
Fantastic.
Brazil, Australia, and even Lithuania. Um,
Great.
but the biggest achievement for this film is turning this film into a continuing medical education credit for physicians, for physician assistants, nurse practitioners, and dentists.
Yes.
Receive credits towards the renewal of their medical licenses. Um, and people if listening can go to F at SMB. So F as in Frank, S as in Sam, M as in Mary, B as in boy.org. And they can find the webinar there. We're going to be hosting a big webinar October 17th for all of those disciplines. And at the very end of that, they'll get their certificate right away.
Great. I love that because my husband is a dentist. So that oral health is obviously a big topic in our house as it relates to menopause as well. So I'll send him there.
Good.
And it's exciting. I mean, that's a huge accomplishment for our audience who doesn't really understand that process. Bravo. I'm clapping, we've got the
yay,
little
yeah,
yay.
exactly.
That is important. And it's important, Denise, because not only is it hard work to get those CE credits, I know the process that you have to go through, but it really encourages physicians, dentists, nurse practitioners, PAs to take the time to
Yeah.
watch. It really encourages that and entices them to do that. And then on the other
Learn
side,
more.
how
Yeah.
important this information
Yes.
is. So bravo with that. Is there anything else, Denise, that we haven't asked you about the film that you wish we had that you'd like to share with our audience?
I would just say, sort of things like to stay I think for women to look at what's happening with their state. So in our state, I'm really, policy is going to have to force a lot of the changes in our healthcare system just because of how the healthcare systems are set up. So we just recently passed the bill here called AB 2270, which recommends, not requires, but recommends physicians and nurse practitioners and PAs to get menopause, mental health and physical training, right? And it says if you have 35% of your patient population is over the age of 40, we recommend that you get this kind of training. That's a good step, right?
Yeah.
We have another bill, AB 4870, which is requiring insurance providers to cover, including Medicaid, to cover menopause treatments. So these are the things that we need to really get our states going while the federal government is trying to pass laws that also encompass this, but encompass other things across all the states. But we can start with each of our states. We can start with each of our states to do this. And now is the time, right? Now is the time where you want to go and meet with your representative to get them to start drafting a bill. Because as they go into the January season, that's when they start reviewing the bills, and they start going through the floors and all that for people who know how bills actually get passed. We're also looking to make the M Factor a community platform and resources for women. I realize in doing this that there's not really one space. You can go and engage with people and get a lot of information in sort of one destination. So we are looking to make the M Factor a community platform with resources for women, employers, and practitioners. And that platform right now is just the mfactorfilm.com, but I think we'll go to just it's saying the M Factor. But that's I would say the one thing that we're doing.
Yeah, it goes beyond just the film, right? It's providing those resources and education and platforms beyond the 1 hour that you're going to watch the documentary. And I love that. And it is being built out, just so the audience knows. It's a work in progress, right, Denise? It's unfolding as we speak. So keep going back to that website because it will be different in 2 weeks than it is today.
It's going to be radically different.
Yes. But for those that want to see the film, they can go to the mfactorfilm.com. They can look for screenings in their local area. It will be aired on PBS on October 17th. So everyone can watch it on October 17th on PBS. We'll put all of this in the show notes as well. But before we sign off and before we let you go, we do like to have a little bit of fun with Rapid Round and get to know Denise a little bit better. So let's have a little bit of fun, shall we? Let's see. I think I know the answer to this, but you're going to start.
I'll start though. Do you like a movie or a book first?
A book.
Okay.
Because you just work on films all day long.
Love reading.
Yeah. What's your favorite book, just out of curiosity?
Ooh.
Or maybe just what are you reading now? That's a little bit of pressure there. What's your favorite book?
I'm reading The Other Black Girl right now.
And what is that, fiction, nonfiction?
Film. There's a film on it on Hulu right now.
Right.
Oh, I had no idea. Okay, great. Another one to add to our list.
Yes.
All right. Well, we just had dinner with you last week, so maybe I know the answer to this, but sweet or savory?
Ooh. I'm both really. Okay. I'm gonna go with savory.
Okay. All right.
You can't stop the chips, but you can stop the cookies because I'm the opposite of that.
I like salty too.
Okay. Home cooked meal or takeout?
Takeout.
Yeah.
Far easier.
You have some pretty good food where you are,
Yes,
Denise,
you do.
so I don't blame you on that one. The last question that we have, a little more serious.
Okay.
What's the best piece of advice that you've ever received?
The best piece of advice, this was an interesting question, because I have gotten so much advice. Ask for and not ask for, you know how that goes.
Yes,
But
of course.
really is what I lead with in almost everything that I pursue that's new, is it just takes one person to say yes, right? So, I always keep this in the back of my mind. It keeps me persistent, it keeps me disciplined when I might get frustrated. For example, just, raising the money for this film.
Yeah.
When I got all of the no's, I just need someone to say yes. I just need someone to say yes. And when we think about this for everything we do, right, in our career, even in our educational pursuits, you just need one person to say yes.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I love that.
so
Keep looking for the yes, right? Keep looking for the yes. Don't
And
give
don't be
up.
afraid to ask, which is what, right? You have to ask to get the no. So you also have to ask to get the yes.
because the answer is already no if you don't ask.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
That's really, really good advice for anyone.
Piece of advice is always leave a tip at the hotel every day.
Ah.
The room experience will elevate. And so it's left that, but it wasn't until one of the TV shows that I worked on, the guy would always ask, what was the best advice you ever received? And one day I was watching and one of the celebrities said, leave a tip. Your experience will be amazing. And so I always kind of left a tip, and sometimes I would forget to leave a tip, but I am so hyper conscious. Like I can literally leave a room and go, oh shoot, I didn't leave the last day's tip, right? But I tell you, the experience is always elevated when you do it.
I love that because you know what? It never dawned on me until you just said that. I always leave a tip the last day, right? It's checkout day. You leave your tip on the counter. But I have always asked my husband, like, what about everybody else that has helped in this room through the whole week? Like, who gets it today, right? Who's been here all week? So I don't know why it didn't dawn on me to do that, but that is great advice. So I'm going to do that next time I travel.
A lot of takeaways from that advice, leaving a tip. It could be a lot of different kinds of ways to leave tips that make your experience better.
Yes.
Yeah.
Agreed. Denise, we're so excited for this film. Of course we're all about menopause, but we're so thrilled that you kept looking for that yes. Thank you for continuing to look for the yes.
Yes.
We wish you really good sleep over the next over the next month, because you've got a busy month, and we're looking forward to seeing the screening and taking part in some of those panels. So audience, go check it out, the mfactorfilm.com. And until we meet again, go find joy in the journey.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Medovia Menopause Podcast. If you enjoyed today's show, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe for future episodes, leave a review, and share this episode with a friend. There are more than 50 million women in the U.S. who are navigating the menopause transition. The situation is compounded by the presence of stigma, shame, and secrecy surrounding menopause, posing significant challenges and disruptions in women's personal and professional spheres. Medovia is out to change the narrative. Learn more at medovia.com. That's MIDOVIA.com.